The first time I came to this conference, I was 21. I am not 21 anymore. It was in the southern part of the state before it was here in La Crosse. And my boyfriend at the time and I came here because we thought we might want to become organic farmers. And I quickly came to the conclusion I did not want to become an organic farmer, which was a great lesson, right? It's good to know what you don't want to do. So that was 30 years ago, and now I run a small demonstration and education farm in Oneida, and my 21-year-old daughter is in the audience. And that boyfriend is her father, so things work out. I'm very proud of her. Okay, so let's get into this. I wear 3 food hats. The first one is I'm the owner and operator of Gahulahele Farmstead on the Oneida Nation. The second hat I wear is as an Ohelagu member. Ohelagu is a indigenous corn growing co-op in Oneida. It's 12 or 15 families. We grow our corn cooperatively and divvy it up based on hours worked. We sell product into the tribal elder food box. It's a great co-op, and it's been a great adventure being part of that. My 9-to-5 job, I work for the Menominee tribe in their Department of Agriculture and Food Systems, and I work a lot, pretty daily, with tribal elder food box and associated programs. And then as that role, I also am a partner and advocate for the Great Lakes Indigenous Food Coalition. But today, I'm just Jen the farmer with a little demonstration farm. I'm also going to skip this part because we're all depressed already. Let's just assume that everyone understands that there has been a systemic and very deliberate process of destroying indigenous foodways in this country. Let's just all agree on that and move on. This is my niece, who is ricing somewhere up by Bad River. I don't remember where we were. Okay, so we have a lot of opportunities. There's a lot happening in the food world, particularly in the indigenous food world. In Oneida, specifically, there is a really vibrant food movement. There are several small-scale operations, and you've heard from a few of them in the Oneida area that are doing both indigenous and conventional ag. And this project that I'm going to talk to you about involves my farm and a partner farm. So Ungwankwa is our partner farm. And Ungwankwa is the Oneida. In Oneida means our foods. And their mission is to help the community learn about traditional Haudenosaunee ag methods of planting, growing, harvesting, seed keeping, food prep, storage, tool making, and crafting. So this is an education and a healing space for indigenous folks and allies. They have events, all kinds of different events throughout the year. Seed keeping, basket making, lacrosse stick making. We've done all kinds of things. The philosophy is that every time an indigenous person plants a seed, this is an act of resistance, an assertion of sovereignty, and a reclamation of identity. So this is Steve and Becky, 2 of my favorite people in the world. They have a YouTube channel, they have Facebook. Check them out. This is our farm, Gahulahele. That is the Oneida word for a gun hanging. And the reason we named our farm that is because back in the day, the reservation in Oneida was created and the peace treaties were signed in 1822, so before Wisconsin was Wisconsin. At that time, there were nicknames for different portions of the reservation. If you don't know, the reservation is just west of Green Bay. I'm about 20 minutes from Lambeau Field. So the nicknames of the reservation, Gahulahele was the nickname of the area of the reservation that we are now farming. And historically, what we're told is that it was a northern part of the res where lots of trees and woods and hunting was going on. So a gun hanging makes sense. Our mission is to grow high-quality indigenous food and conventional foods for our community and teach others how to raise and process their own foods. So I said I didn't ever want to be an organic farmer. So we lived in town for 20 years and thought about, well, if we were going to have a farm, how would we do it? And we have landed on teaching and education. So it's important to us to provide hyperlocal food to our community, but to also teach others. So that's kind of where we've landed. And our philosophy is that bartering and cooperative self-reliance build strong local food systems. And you'll hear me say cooperative self-reliance a lot. I think sometimes us folks who live in and breathe the land-based lifestyle think that we have to do it all on our own. We don't. That's not how things were done historically. Everyone shared responsibilities, and it's important to keep that in mind. So what we try to do, the two partner farms, are to aim to build a local and sustainable food system that reflects traditional foodways. It's good for our community. It provides healing and a safe space, protects the environment, feeds people with food, abundance, and love, and teaches cooperative self-reliance. So up in the, this is actually kind of funny. So we're the 4 people that run these farms, and I couldn't find a single picture with all 4 of us in it. We are busy people. So top left is me, bottom left, that's my husband, Tony Kuchma. And then the top right is Becky Webster, and the bottom right is Steve Webster. And we're all doing something food related in these photos. These are the activities that we host on our farms. I mentioned basket making. We have traditional food prep. My husband up in the right-hand corner there. Some folks in this room have been to his classes. We do a home-based scale, so there's no commercial bend to any of the meat processing that we do, but we're teaching families how to do venison, buffalo, beef, fish, chicken, turkey, and ducks. Any day now, we're going to do ducks. So we just had a buffalo in our trailer for, gosh, it must have been a month before we were done with it. So we help people who want to live these lifestyles and don't necessarily have the know-how or the equipment. So people can come use our equipment. Last summer, we did butchering. We helped 3 different families. So they wanted to do meat birds, but they didn't have the capacity to process them. So they raised the birds. We helped them, taught them how to do that, and then they brought the birds to our place, and we helped them process. We do a lot of seed keeping. There's organic produce growing. There's family scale, rotational grazing going on. 3 Sisters, of course. Steve and Becky focus on 3 Sisters pretty heavily. And then this last year's project was to start providing hardwood ashes. This is my new T-shirt. Does anybody in the room, can anyone in here tell the group what nixtamalization is? Sort of. Go ahead.
It's using either ash or lime to cook it with corn and far more nutritious than the traditional way.
Right. So a lot of corn varieties need to be nixtamalized, which is a big word that means cooked in lye or hardwood ashes. And so in Oneida, as I mentioned, there is this growth of food on foodways, but not a lot of people heating with wood. And so at our farm, we heat with wood. And so I had this brilliant idea, seemed a good idea at the time. We would start processing those ashes and providing them to the community. And so now I bought some equipment so I don't have to do it by hand because that was kind of a nightmare to do so much. So now we can provide 1-pound bags of ashes, and I've been sending them all over the Great Lakes area, which is really exciting. Station?
And what does that look like or mean processing?
So if you're just doing enough ash to make a pot of soup with your corn, you're just going to grab some ashes out of your fire pit or your fireplace and sift it like with a flour sifter. I bought a mechanical flour sifter that's about yay big around. So I can do 10, 15 pounds of ashes in minutes. because it's just a dirty, messy job. I can't believe it's very good for my lungs. So I wanted to mechanize it. So that's what you get, sifted ashes. And it's very fine. It's like a very like powdered sugar kind of consistency. And then you just throw that in your water when you're cooking your corn, and it makes it bioavailable to your body, makes it healthier to eat. I can say 100 things about nixtamalization. I'll stop here, except to say that the Haudenosaunee cooked this corn for George Washington during the Revolutionary War. So, and they didn't know how to cook it. So that was kind of this big story about how we had to teach them how to do that. Anyway, so the grant, what I'm really here to talk about. So Ungwankwa and Gahulahele got together and wrote the SARE grant for beginning farmer rancher grants. And our proposal, or our objectives, were to expose community members to indigenous, organic, heirloom foods, to provide food education and resources, and to build an employment model that serves both farms. We had 5 grant activities. This picture is 2 of the little kids that were in our How to Raise Meat Chickens course last summer. So the first thing we did was we hired an apprentice. We had to document what we were doing and how we were doing it for SARE. We had to provide outreach and some social media presence, conduct workshops, and then, which hasn't, activity 5 has not happened yet, but we're gonna purchase a trailer that will allow Ungwankwas to start delivering both hot and cold held indigenous prepared meals. So activity 1, we hired Chante, and he has been amazing. He's 15. He is smart as a whip, and we hired him last spring, and he got to do all kinds of things. Some of those things were fun, and some of them weren't. But he's coming back, so it couldn't have been all bad. But he did a lot of things. I'm going to show you a quick little video because I have it. And Falck, my Oneida name means smoke going straight up. And I'm an Oneida tribal member, and we are here on my farm, Gahulahele, on the Oneida Reservation. Our Farmer Rancher grant this year, we applied, we had a partner farm called Ungwankwa, and our farm and that farm, we both needed summer help, but we didn't have the funds to pay someone full time. And so we wrote a grant to use this as a labor model to figure out if one person could work both farms and be helpful and get paid a good wage and learn a lot. And so we were able to hire a young man, and he was awesome. And he spent all summer working on either our farm or the other partner farm. At the scale we're at a pretty low production scale, and so is Ungwankwa. And so we don't really bring in enough revenue that we could pay someone full time. We need help, but we don't need 40 hours of help. And so it was really a blessing to have him and to share him, his skills and the cost of him with another farm. Obviously it was a grant, but you get what I mean. In the real world, we would have been sharing the cost that was necessary to pay him. He did events. They have educational events at their farm. And then here he did a fair amount of construction. He stacked a lot of firewood. He learned about electric fencing. We did some pasture expansion this summer, and he was here to help. And he helped with some building some infrastructure around our compost pile. Did a fair amount of work in the high tunnel when it was cool enough. Well, it worked out well for a couple of reasons. My husband and I both have 9-to-5 jobs Monday through Friday, and the other farm, they're on farm all the time.
And so he was able to work the weekdays, he was able to work at their farm, and then evenings and weekends he could spend here. So that worked out good. We used text messaging and notes apps to track his time and to schedule him. He had another job, so we had to be cognizant of that. I think one of the other really important things that we did with the grant was to set aside some money for PPE. So he was able to get some steel toe boots and some ear protection and a hat and work gloves. And I think that we will, when the grant is over, we will figure out a way to continue to do it, because to be honest, the last few seasons that we've been doing this has been stressful. And our apprentice learned a lot. He was exposed to all kinds of exciting things that he thought were cool, in addition to things that weren't so great, like weeding for hours on end. But it was also a great stress reliever for us. We had a good apprentice. He knew what he was doing. He was very skilled and quick to learn, and we could send him out to do something and he'd go do it. And it was very stress relieving. And we know that mental health is important in the world of agriculture these days. Man, I didn't even anticipate how stress relieving it was going to be. So that has been awesome.
Chante was great. He spent some time working at our place. He spent some time working at Ungwankwa. He had another job, so we had to be cognizant of that. And one really cool thing that he took upon himself is we paid him a pretty good wage, and he did not want to get paid until the end of the season. So he took all that money and socked it away somewhere, which is awesome. So yeah, he learned a little bit about indigenous cropping. He learned a lot about stacking firewood. He's really good at it. Some electrical fencing he had to do. We did some infrastructure around our compost that he had to learn how to build stuff. And he did a lot of prep work for events. So he was helping us get ready for tours. He was helping prepare meals at the other farm. He was just all around great. We just used our phones to document what we were doing. It wasn't anything overly complicated. He kept track of all his hours. We would text each other on his schedule. Again, he had another job at a local pizza joint that we had to kind of be aware of. And he's, 15. Sometimes things happen. But generally, everything worked really well. I was going to add one more thing to this, and now I don't remember what it was. So my husband and I, Tony and I, we both work off farm Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. Steve and Becky are on farm all day. So he spent most of his weekdays at Ungwankwa because he could get supervised by them, which was a requirement by SARE. And then he would spend his weekends with us. So it worked out pretty good that way. Activity 3 was outreach and social media. Ungwankwa is very active in social media, Facebook in particular. I know they have all the others too. I don't follow anything else, but they are very active on social media. And just last week, they did a indigenous prepared meal sale. So they have a commercial kitchen on their farm, licensed by the Oneida Nation. And they did a Southwest sweet potato bowl. So this was using as many indigenous food products as they could get their hands on, using indigenous chefs, and then it was a pick up and pay kind of drive-through sort of scenario. And they sold out, I want to say by like 12:30, and it was call ahead, so people were picking up their orders. But it was very successful. And we'll be doing more of this next year. And then the activity 4 was to conduct workshops. So both Ungwankwa and Gahulahile have a lot of workshops, a lot of tours. Our summers are pretty nuts with regard to schedules. So I think last year we did maybe 4 homestead tours. So we have, I said we were an education and demonstration farm, so we're teaching people how to do all kinds of food-related things. In addition, we're heating with wood, we've got solar array, we're doing rotational grazing with chickens. So there's a lot to see. And so we provide a lot of tours in the hopes that we can convince some other people to do this kind of stuff. So we have a lot of events. This year we're doing another full year basket making series where we bring in indigenous basket weavers and do anything from little corn sifting baskets to backpacks. We have done, or we will be doing, hopefully this year, we're going to do some knocking stick classes for ricing. What else have we done? Corn husk making, lots of food classes. We brought in a teacher 2 months ago, I think, to do fire cider classes. We've done whatever people want to learn. We have put it together, so it's very exciting. So the next thing that's going to happen in 2025 is Chante is going to come back to us, and we're going to continue that part of the project, and then we will be purchasing this spring a trailer that will allow Steve to have hot and cold holding meal prep, so that we can do they can do delivery and different prepared meal events. And that is a picture of Becky and her mother in their commercial kitchen. That's it. That's all I got. That's short. So I will bribe you for questions. If you ask me a question, I will give you a sticker. Yes, and I will repeat the questions. Alyssa is from Missouri, and she's asking if there's an area in her region to access these resources. And you're talking about indigenous education resources. I don't know. Does anybody know that? I'm not familiar with tribes in that area, part of the world. Sorry. Sure, rotational grazing is Ruby squared question. So we have a really small operation. It was started with an EQIP grant. We do 2 heifers, and we'll have a young heifer and an older heifer. And we rotationally graze them through about 12 paddocks throughout the season. And we will hay and grain feed them in the winter. And our chickens, ideally, depending on a predator scenario, ideally our meat birds will follow those heifers through rotation. And then we just process one animal, one heifer each for a year, and that's enough for our family and community needs. So it's very small scale. Excellent question. This has come up a couple of times since I got here. Generally speaking, tribal communities do not provide seed to outside members, people who aren't in our communities. I had someone ask me for white corn seeds yesterday, and I had to say no. You can buy indigenous seeds. If you go to Seed Savers Exchange, which I fully am supportive of, they will sell you indigenous corn and bean and squash seeds. And that's fine. But generally speaking, Ohelagu, the co-op that I work for, or that I work with, we do not share seed. Predator management. It's a series of comical follies, really. Last year, our biggest problem was, we had one really bad day. We lost half of our flock in about 10 minutes from a fox. And that fox had a very violent demise. But, so we've had fox problems. We have had owl problems last year. We had owls taking chickens like at dawn. It was always dawn, I don't know. And it always left a wing, like just to be snotty. It would just leave a wing laying there. We have done scarecrows. Our birds are really smart because they listen to public radio all day. That seems to help. leaving the talk radio on just 24/7. That seems to help. The scarecrow, I think, helps until they get smart to it, and then you got to move it or change it, or it probably scared me more than it scared the birds, because every time I would jump. And then we also have we have a pair of African gray geese. You guys have seen our geese. Samson and Delilah are their names, and they're like 4 now, 3 or 4 years old. But they're pretty good. They're pretty good guard geese. They're obnoxious, they're loud, but they're friendly. They don't come after me or anything. And I know for sure that Delilah has gotten into it with a couple of raccoons. So they'll take on some creatures. Yeah. So the question is, was Chante's experience kind of formal or kind of casual? It was definitely casual. I can't say Chante is particularly interested in going into agriculture or anything, but I think he had a good experience. And then the other part of your question.
Yeah, like, how do you see it being replicated moving forward, or do you, what might you change?
How can we keep doing it? So I think that, unfortunately, this is not the best answer, but it's the honest answer. We're going to continue to use philanthropic and grant dollars to pay our interns. I don't know that in our situation it's ever going to be something that we can independently afford. But I will, in all honesty, I have to tell you the truth, my Ruby is actually the person who invented this employment model, and we copied her. So up at Northland College in Ashland, there are lots of organic farms up there, and folks will get 2 and 3 different farm jobs because of the same reason. The farmers can't afford full-time help, they don't have housing, all those sorts of issues. So really, I just stole what Ruby was already doing and kind of organized it. Yeah, the question is about the future and what we want to do and what's next. So Becky and I have been talking about, and Isaiah as well, have been talking about doing a Duck Creek farm shed and organizing all of our tiny little farms, some not so tiny, and working on efforts similar to what what's it called, Central Waters Farm Shed, similar to what they're doing. So I think getting a little more organized and getting more indigenous foods to our community members will always be what we want to do. And the coursework and the classes are really important. Ungwankwa will probably be building a brand new building soon. You guys think I'm busy. Holy cow. They're also 15 years younger than I am. But I think education will always be important. And I think, too, I didn't really emphasize the healing space and why it's important. Because a lot of us indigenous folks have lost connection to those skills and those life ways, it can be really traumatic to come back to them. Because you're sitting there weaving a basket and you're thinking about your auntie who was in the boarding schools, and your grandma who had this horrible experience. And it's something. It's a journey. And so to be able to provide that to indigenous folks and allies, it's really important. So I'll just add that. The question was, would you be willing to barter seeds intertribally? Yes. I think she's asking about what our demographic is, who we're trying to reach, and I think it's mixed. I think we get a lot of, it's really all over the spectrum. We get little ones who are showing up with their aunties, and what's really fun is when we get grandmas who haven't had access to this kind of stuff since they were kids. Oh, those are good days. So I'd say the demographic is all over the board. The SARE grant is 2 years, and if you partner with another, does anyone else have the Farmer Rancher grant in here? Yeah, so if you partner with another organization, you can do how does that work? You can do 2 years and 30,000. Oh, I didn't recognize you. Here we go. Well, let's ask the expert.
Hey, everybody. So I work for SARE, and Jen is amazing, I think we can all say. Actually, we should probably cheer for her. And I got to visit her farm this summer when that video was made and see for myself just how beautiful this is and learn from all the good work they're doing. And we have we call them farmer forums at conferences like this so that people can hear from farmers directly about their projects and so that we can tell other people like, hey, we have these grants, maybe you should apply. So the way the Farmer Rancher Grant works is you apply usually in December and you say, hey, I have this innovative idea. I know lots of other farmers struggle with the same problem. In Jen's case, it was labor, right? And I have an idea for how to fix it. In Jen's case, it was Ruby's idea. And I want to try it out, but I need a little financial cushion to try it. And I'm going to share out whatever I learn. And you can decide how you want to share. So maybe that's through video or tours or articles in zines or papers. It's all over the map. And people apply for these SARE grants either by themselves, that's up to $15,000, or with 2 individual farm operations, like these guys did, up to $30,000. And it's a really neat program. I'm biased, but I really like it because we get proposals for every sort of thing you can imagine, every problem farmers face, from mental health to labor to what variety of lettuce should I plant in my high tunnel in the winter. And it's a 2-year, that's my husband, thanks Nate. You can have 2 years, so you get 2 growing seasons really to sort of trial your idea, which can be really helpful. And no matter where you are in the country, there are grants like this. There are different regions of SARE that have this sort of resource. And if you want to look up more cool videos of other farmers presenting their research, the SARE YouTube channel is super neat. Marie, our communications person, puts those together, and you can hear from other farmers about all sorts of topics. Yeah. Thanks, Jen.
Thank you, Liz. I didn't see you till just now. Okay, so Claire is asking if with the current political, what was the word? Climate, are we facing any challenges? Yes, we are a little worried that our low tunnel contract won't be honored. In the grand scheme of things, we're going to be just fine. There are a lot of farmers who will suffer far more than we will if their contracts aren't honored. So that NRCS contracts are probably, for me, at the top of my list, and in my 9-to-5 job, that concerns me as well. LFPA concerns me. There's a lot concerning me. FSA, yeah. We know folks have gotten fired in the last week or so. Checks aren't coming out. I will say, we got our SARE check last week, so that's happening. Yeah, I'm very concerned. Yeah, Mike is asking about if this world is all different and new to somebody, how could they get involved? Again, I'm going to send you to Ngwankwa's website and YouTube station, or YouTube channel. Station, that sounded really old. They have a great website. I don't have a great web presence, kind of on purpose. I kind of like to be a little pickier about who's at my place than I don't have the capacity to take on quite so many people. But if you go there, you will find information. Can you think of anything else? Yeah, so we, like I alluded to, we heat our house with wood. And so it takes maybe a week, a couple days sometimes, depending on how cold it is, to fill up the ash can. And I just have been dumping that ash into this big sifter that I purchased and bagging it in like a 1-pound coffee bag. And then we got these cool stickers with a story on there about why ash is important. And the wood that we burn is all coming from the Oneida Nation. Tony, my husband, and I cut and stack and split all of that wood by hand and burn it in our living room. And another cool thing, last year we did a lot of basket weaving. And when you do black ash basket weaving, there's a lot of waste. And so all of that black ash has gone into our fireplace this year, which means a lot to me. So those ashes are now becoming food, essentially. Sure. The basket workshops are we had trialed and piloted a few different ways to do it. And the way we are currently doing it is we want everyone to understand that when you sit down and make a basket and somebody hands you ash splints, there's a lot that happened before that moment. And so if you participate in our basket series, you are pounding logs. And and that's an hours-based scenario. So if you want to make the little corn sifting basket, it's used to sift ground corn mush, you might have to pound for 4 hours. Now last year I made a backpack, and I think I had to pound for like 40 hours. So it's based on that. There's a small fee only because we find that if we charge $10, the people who registered sign up. Sometimes we get folks who register and, oh, that sounds cool, and then they don't show up. So it's kind of a pain. They're generally based on pounding hours, types of baskets. We have a couple different basket teachers in the community. Yeah. Again, go to the website, Nkwonkwa's website. Anything else? Yes, emerald ash borer is definitely affecting us. I'm not a forester, so I'll just repeat what I've been told. Make baskets now. Cut them down and make baskets because they're not going to be here forever. So that's kind of the attitude that I'm getting from forestries. Okay, Victoria's asking if we can save seed and plant those black ash later, and I have no idea. Does anybody know the answer or have any emerald ash borer knowledge? Okay. So David is saying the borer feeds on older trees, so it's going to take longer for them to get through the forest because they're not attacking them until the trees are older. Anything else? What is my favorite activity that Gahula Haley puts on? I think kind of the tours. I really love having families bring their little kids who think that they might want to raise a heifer or think that they might want some solar panels. I really like sharing that with them, and especially the lessons learned, what I would do different. So I like the tours. They're kind of a pain to get ready for, but I like them. Yeah. All right, guys. Thanks.